Here's what I want to say, and I honestly, I understand I'm preaching to the choir here. Everything about this is wrong. You know it, and I know it. But I actually know it better than most because I helped build that organization. And that's why I am almost the perfect person to discern what is normal and what is abnormal in terms of what happened.
Erika Kirk is a plant.
Charlie wrote you letters.
I know.
Every week?
Every Saturday. So he would turn his phone off to honor the Sabbath. He would come in, open the junk drawer. Everyone has a junk drawer. Open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door, and he felt so free because he was unreachable.
Are you kidding me? Shabbat Shalom! They are rubbing it in our faces at this point. Erika Kirk is a honeypot for sure. I'm sorry, the fact she can say that with a smile on her face shows that she was in on it. Not to mention what Charlie Kirk said in his final days. How about those 12 Israeli phones at the UVU campus that Candace Owens mentioned? Nope, they placed her in. They placed her in to replace Charlie to continue the pro-Zio propaganda, because otherwise he would have taken everyone at Turning Point with him. Charlie turned their back on them in the final months. Turning Point USA put Ben Shapiro on his show after they took him out, and they're literally all sitting here smiling. Everything that Charlie said in his final days just proved him right. He was betrayed by everybody.
What?
You think what?
I think, what's her name? Miss Kirk. What's her name?
Erika Kirk?
There we go. Yes, I absolutely
You think she killed
I absolutely
Charlie
do.
Kirk?
I absolutely do.
Okay, can you elaborate?
Within 2 to 3 weeks of his death, not only did she change her persona, she quit being like the modern quintessential perfect wife.
Because her husband was murdered and she has to take over his whole company. She became the executive of the CEO of all of Turning Point. Her whole life was flipped upside down because her husband was shot on live TV in front of millions of fucking people.
How about
and
this?
You're blaming it on her?
Hold on.
You're blaming it on her?
Something I test extremely high in is logical reasoning.
You have no logical reasoning.
How about the shadow company that fed her a bunch of money and then disappeared 3 days later?
What shadow company?
What do you mean, what shadow company?
What shadow
Look
company?
it up on Google.
Thanks for being with us. Is there an investigation into a wider plot?
Sean, thanks so much for having me. And because President Trump and the Attorney General have prioritized resources to this all-important investigation, we're dedicating every asset we have.
Vision, this movement, this revival, you thought you could do that by murdering me. You got my body, you didn't get my soul.
That's fake. How often do you see a woman who's completely covered in makeup crying and sobbing without a single sliver of mascara just running down her face? That's called a TV cry. That's what she was doing on Fox News with Jesse Waters as she tried to hook viewers in with this emotional story about her love for Charlie and his love for her, as she bizarrely made sure that everyone knew that Charlie had pursued her, but not the other way around. She said that Charlie loved her first. Seriously.
Candace Owens just did it again. One post, one explosive video, and suddenly the entire internet's whispering that the FBI is quietly closing in on Erika Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk and the new face of Turning Point USA. Candace didn't hold back. She claimed there's something dark behind Charlie's death. Something the media's ignoring and the feds might be hiding.
We're not being told the truth. That's what I'm getting at. We are not being told the sensible truth. Was his phone call to Erika only 10 seconds? Like you just drop that news and keep it moving? Or was he already on the phone with Rob McCoy? What happened? Okay, I need clarification because every day that goes on, it feels to me like Turning Point is engaged in a cover-up. And there's no other way to say this. There is no other ways. I don't care who at Turning Point tweets. I literally do not care. I will breathe fire on all of you. I know how these events work. Why was this event confirmed so quickly when it was requested so late? Answer these questions. I need answers to these questions to understand what happened on that day. Because the way that Mikey moves is like he knows where he's going. It's like they know where they're gonna meet. And we know that they got to the hospital very quickly, because Blake Neff says elsewhere, they got into the hospital within 25 minutes, okay? They knew, that means they knew instantly where the hospital was. They knew which direction to go to, the communication that's flowing. I think Frank said he was on the phone while they were in the car with his family members. Don't quote me on that. So all of this happened. You instantly got to the hospital, which, by the way, the hospital was put on lockdown when Charlie came in. That's what we were told. They let Mikey and the Turning Point boys in. Maybe that's true. It sounds like it is true. Obviously, we know that you were there when they came out and said that Charlie had died, according to Blake Neff. And according to Frank Turek's testimony, but a lot of this little stuff is not making sense, okay? It's not making sense. And you cannot tell me that to dispel this rumor, right, by letting people see the call logs, by letting people see the video footage, would somehow hurt the case.
And in that moment, what looked like a tragic story turned into a full-blown political earthquake. People thought Candace was chasing clout, until strange details started surfacing.
Erika Kirk, the former reality show star and romance actress who modeled for President Trump and who wasted absolutely no time after her husband's death in rushing into the limelight and soaking it all in. She stepped right back into her role as a reality TV star, playing the part of a grief-stricken widow, as hundreds of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of shekels that her husband wanted nothing to do with are thrown around his organization and thrown into the wallets of the people that are covering up his assassination. Remember, it was Erika Kirk's mother who was geofencing Charlie's memorial service and Turning Point USA events in general. TPUSA connected churches so that she could identify people, Christians, on behalf of the Israeli regime so they could then be plastered with pro-Israel propaganda. And it's Erika's father who's tied to Raytheon and Israel's US-funded Iron Dome and the Israeli regime itself. This is the cast of characters, or at least part of it, in this Israeli-run reality show that we're all watching here. That's what this is. Erika Kirk's latest role on TV. It's her new show. And just this week, she premiered the latest episode of her new show in this interview with Jesse Waters from Fox News, where she offered up a whole lot of crocodile tears and perpetuated the false FBI-driven narrative around her husband's death.
Deleted footage, conflicting witness reports, even rumors of federal interest that no one could quite explain. Within hours, hashtags like Erika Kirk Truth were trending, and clips of Candace's rant hit millions of views. Now, the question everyone's asking is simple. What did Candace uncover that scared people this much?
Keep that up for just a second, because it's really around here. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the Man of Steel, that we just went, something's not right. Something not right. A lot of stuff's not right. I just don't know why a surgeon would be saying something that actually only the medical examiner, somebody that specializes in forensics, could really contribute. Yes, a surgeon can tell you, or actually any person with common sense can tell you, that your bone density is better when you're younger. But this seemed a little bit too performative. Now, I can tell you the part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet, without question. Okay, and this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there. And I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit. And at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going to tell you exactly where it was recovered from. I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week. Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade, right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? It went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was...
And why does it look like the FBI, not Erika, is the one doing the explaining behind closed doors? Because if there's one thing history has taught us, it's this. When Candace Owens starts pulling threads, powerful people start sweating. And this time, the thread leads straight to Erika Kirk.
He must have thought that he was raptured when he died. Why? Because he found out that you're trying to build the third temple with the Jews that wanted to take over his organization? When he died, he probably thought, wow, I was right. I said that these people were going to take me out, and now they've done it. And I don't say that to be funny. I say that to reflect just how absurd this entire Erika Kirk equation that we're looking at here really is. This woman is in the middle of a campaign to sell the official story of Charlie Kirk's death as Turning Point USA is carried off into the Zionist abyss by the people that she works for, by the people that she has always worked for. These people, the people who were told were the closest people on earth to Charlie Kirk, are trampling all over his legacy, and they're doing it with the help of the United States government and the corporate media and many others, including obviously the Israeli government that's also been out in force trying to sell the official Charlie Kirk narrative. Who's buying this? I'm not buying this. Are you? Of course not, and they know that, and that's exactly why these people at TPUSA do not want me talking about this. And not just me, but Candace Owens, anyone else who's poking around, asking too many questions, connecting too many dots, talking about it too much in public.
Before the headlines, before the whispers, Erika Kirk was known mostly as Charlie's quiet balance, the calm beside his firebrand energy. She wasn't casing cameras or trending hashtags. She was private, polished, supportive. But when Charlie was fatally shot on September 10th, everything shifted overnight. In hours, the woman who lived in the background became the center of a national storm. Photos of her grieving face spread across social media. Statements poured in from every corner of conservative America. And suddenly, she was being called the heart of Turning Point USA. But what the public saw wasn't what insiders whispered. Some said Erika was too composed, that her posts felt managed. Others swore she'd already stepped into leadership meetings long before the memorial services were over. And when Candace Owens questioned why Erika wasn't demanding answers, people started to wonder if she knew more than she was saying. Then came the odd details, rumors of missing phone records, security footage under review, and a sudden silence from federal investigators. The story was already strange, but with Erika at the center and Candace fueling suspicion, it was about to get explosive. Because grief makes people quiet, but silence makes people suspicious. When Candace Owens spoke, it wasn't subtle. It never is. She looked straight into the camera and said what no one else dared. This wasn't random. According to her, Charlie Kirk's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a setup, a cover-up, a story so twisted that only federal hands could have kept it quiet. Within hours, her theory spread like wildfire. She pointed to suspicious gaps in the investigation, missing timestamps, wiped phone logs, and what she called federal fingerprints all over the scene. She even hinted that Charlie might have been silenced over private dealings linked to Turning Point USA and major donors. No evidence, just questions, but that's all the internet needed. The reaction? Explosive. Supporters flooded her comments, calling her the only one brave enough to say it. Critics accused her of exploiting grief. Even conservative allies started picking sides, half defending Erika, half demanding an investigation. Then came the kicker. Candace posted a single sentence that sent chills through Twitter. "The feds know why Erika's been so quiet." That line alone flipped the narrative. What was grief now looked like guilt. And in that moment, the story stopped being about Charlie's death and became about what Erika Kirk might be hiding. Days after Candace Owens' bombshell video, quiet murmurs started rippling through social media. The FBI's moving in. At first, it sounded like internet fiction, but then small details began surfacing that no one could ignore. A federal van spotted outside Turning Point's Phoenix headquarters, unconfirmed reports of agents requesting internal emails, and suddenly, every influencer with a ring light had an opinion. According to sources close to the investigation, federal authorities were reviewing materials connected to the incident. That phrase alone sent shockwaves through conservative circles. Was it a routine follow-up? Or had Candace Owens actually triggered a full-blown federal probe? No one could say for sure, and the FBI, predictably, stayed silent. Meanwhile, Erika Kirk's world was collapsing in real time. Every move she made was dissected. Every public silence turned into a headline. She posted a simple Bible verse about faith, and within minutes, hashtags like Erika under investigation were trending. Candace didn't slow down either. In her next post, she doubled down. The feds always move slow until they don't. And that line hit hard, because now it wasn't just an online theory anymore, it was a narrative with momentum. And for the first time, people started asking the question that could change everything. What if Candace was right? When Erika Kirk finally stepped out of the silence, no press statement could have prepared her for what came next. It wasn't a speech or an interview. It was a single moment caught on camera. Erika, standing at a charity event, embracing J.D. Vance in a long, emotional hug. No words, just that image. But in today's internet culture, nothing stays innocent. Within hours, that hug became the moment everyone dissected. Some called it a display of grief. Others labeled it too familiar, even strategic.
That does not look like a Christian side hug to me. Hands on the hips, on the tight leather pants. I guess those are her morning pants. There is no social body distancing there, folks. Looking quite comfortable. But I actually think that this one is the most telling. Hand through the hair. Because, when you just say hi to a guy, you just casually grip his head and run your hand through his hair. But he's married. Do you think he cares? Do you think either of them care? I'm amused that people think they would have principles. If you don't think that this incredibly insincere ghoul, who nothing about him is authentic, he was quite literally created in a lab by Peter Thiel and other such Silicon Valley tech oligarchs to be a politician specifically for them, and then handpicked by them to be vice president, with his entire backstory and name totally made up by the elites that created him. If you think he would not be willing to dump his wife to marry a white woman and get Charlie Kirk's legacy, imagine them having a kid together with those blue ice pick eyes on the both of them. They could blind someone. Anyway, my point is, J.D. Vance is not a real person. He's a cutout. He's a creation of the billionaire oligarchs that put him in power to do the working class guy, America First cosplay shtick. But he works for Israel. He works for Palantir. You think he'd stay loyal to his wife? He was throwing her under the bus already during the Q&A. I personally think they're already together. And if you think he wouldn't dump his wife so that he could go marry a more white supremacist friendly trad wife, you don't know anything about politics or white nationalism for that matter.
Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Erika and Vance. Hashtag calculated compassion. Hashtag justice for Charlie. Every frame of that video was analyzed like evidence from a crime scene. When Erika finally spoke, her tone was calm but firm. She said, "There's no linear blueprint for grief." It was raw, honest, and yet it only added fuel to the fire. People said she was dodging. Others said she was protecting something bigger. Candace, of course, didn't miss a beat. She posted, "Grief doesn't erase accountability." That one line reignited the storm, and once again, Erika's name shot back into trending lists, this time side by side with hashtag FBI involved. Because in the court of public opinion, emotion doesn't matter, perception does. And at that moment, Erika Kirk wasn't seen as a widow anymore. She was the woman everyone suspected of knowing too much and saying too little. By now, the story had outgrown social media. News outlets were forced to cover it, politicians were asked for comments, and Turning Point U.S.A. quietly tightened its media access. But even with all the noise, one thing stayed eerily constant: the FBI's silence. No press release, no confirmation, no denial. Just a few words repeated by official sources. Ongoing investigation. And that's exactly what sent everyone spiraling. Because when the FBI refuses to clarify, the internet fills in the blanks. Leaked screenshots claimed there were classified exchanges tied to the day Charlie was shot. Others pointed to a mysterious security glitch that wiped out surveillance footage at Utah Valley University, the same night the shooting happened. Then, there were rumors of federal agents interviewing former Turning Point staffers behind closed doors. Nothing proven, but the timing? Too perfect to ignore. Even Candace seemed unsettled. She hinted at a story too big for one person to tell, suggesting that powerful figures wanted her silenced next. Whether you believe her or not, one thing's undeniable. Her theory made people start asking questions the FBI clearly didn't want to answer. Because when federal silence meets public suspicion, conspiracy stops being a theory. It becomes a movement. And right now, that movement has one name echoing at its center: Erika Kirk. Weeks have passed and the dust hasn't settled. If anything, it's thicker than ever. Candace Owens isn't backing down. Erika Kirk isn't talking, and the FBI, they're still playing the world's quietest game of chess. Every move they make or don't make just deepens the suspicion that this story isn't over. Some say Candace crossed the line, turning grief into a spectacle. Others say she's the only one with the courage to speak up. But between those two sides sits the question no one can seem to answer. What really happened to Charlie Kirk? Maybe Erika's silence is strength. Maybe it's fear. Or maybe, and this is what keeps people awake at night, it's strategy. Because when federal agents start sniffing around, when media doors close, and when the loudest voices start going quiet, that's when things usually get interesting. Candace has already teased a part 2, claiming new information is coming. Whether it's real or just more smoke, one thing is certain. This story has left the internet hooked, divided, and waiting for the next headline. And as for Erika Kirk, until she speaks, every post, every photo, every moment of calm will only raise more questions. Because in a story built on secrets, the silence always speaks the loudest.